Alright, another Modern Mystic video. This one called Cash Gary Rant. So I think he's 2 videos behind me. It's just kind of funny, just because my mood changes with each video, and so yeah, it's just this whatever. We've started this way, I'm going to continue this way. I just saw your video, I'm going to respond to it. I mean, let's take them one at a time. So he's saying I didn't say enough about cash in my video, and I think I did say enough. I think the importantest point, the importantest, is that it really has to do with the number of issuers, you know, between the stuff and the medium you're talking about. And so cash is the closest you can get to the stuff. There's one issuer, the federal government. Digits have 2 issuers. The digit is a call on cash, which is a call on the federal government. So there's the bank's issuer, the credibility of that issue, and then the credibility of the government issue. So it's just it's more loose, it's more breakable, it's more fragile, it's more maybe not too good a shit. It might be a bad digit, where cash can only be a bad digit through one issuer. I think that's the most fundamental argument in defense of cash. And you're just saying it's nothing as an argument. I'm saying it's something as an argument, and you can call it a rant and you can call it whatever you want, but I think it's a substantial reason to recognize that's the standard. And to say the dollar, again, to make distinctions between dollars and cash, I think there's no point in doing that. You want to do it, do it. I can't stop you, but I don't see any point in it. The dollar defines, the cash defines the dollar. So what happens in crisis? So in crisis, nothing works in crisis. There's no perfect solution in crisis, right? I mean, if you have a gold standard, or you have gold backing for the dollar, what good is that going to do you? Okay, it's not gonna. You're not going to be able to produce the gold. So what are you going to do? Make more gold? No, you can't. I mean, even if the government has the $1.2 trillion in gold to back up the currency, does it have to have the $7 trillion in FDIC insurance? So it has to have $7 more trillion in gold just sitting in a vault somewhere getting more expensive? It has to hoard $7 trillion worth of gold? I mean, you see where it goes? Sort of starts getting expensive. So yeah, in a crisis, what I would say is that yes, the idea is just to recognize that it's a crisis, and you say, okay, you're going to let stuff out, but you're going to let stuff out knowing it's got to come back in again. Okay, that it's not a permanent release. It's an emergency release. And under those circumstances, first the FDIC insured deposits. So those you would guarantee, but you're going to loan the money to the banks. Okay, that's it. The banks are still responsible for it. They're the ones that have to make the legitimate request for the cash, right? They have to come up with stuff to collateralize or whatever. You know, this is all claims on stuff again. Remember, it's not claims on cash. It's only claims on cash as a translator between stuff and the market. Cash is the medium you go through. It's not the stuff itself. So theoretically, the bank should have access to stuff to substantiate the digits they have created. There should be stuff, there should be pie that they've sold pieces to. And so, yeah, they can't access their pie right away. That can be understood. So we can loan them digits. And so I would say for FDIC insured accounts, there would be a no interest loan. Okay, so the federal government would loan the banks whatever digits they needed to cover the FDIC insurance, the insured digits, but it's strictly a loan. They have to pay it back within 30 days or 60 days, even if they're going to reissue it again or whatever the thing would be. But there have to be a catch to it to oblige them to pay the money back. So within a certain time period or something else that can only be revised if there's a national emergency or some other catch that says the money has to stay out there. But the obligation would be that that money comes back home again. It's a loan that has to be paid back. Not a permanent loan, a temporary loan. That would be my qualification. So that would be for FDIC insured. And obviously, if I was controlling the government, I would never have allowed them to FDIC insured all the digits they've insured. That I would have never let happen. So the fact that we have this huge liability to cash, I'm saying that should never exist in the first place. We should not be FDIC insuring securities. It's insane. And zillion-dollar bank accounts. Well, 250,000 or whatever they went up to now. Millionaire money. Yeah, we shouldn't be FDIC insuring that. Okay, so next step would be then what do you do with the rest of the digits that are a claim on cash? And if the bank needs a claim on cash, then yes, it can borrow the money from the Fed, borrow the cash at a moderate interest rate, whatever it would be. With again the same provision, this has to be paid back. This is not a permanent loan of the money. You have to bring the cash back when the crisis is over, and we'll tell you when the crisis is over, and if you're not willing to do that, then you're out of business and we're taking over your bank or whatever the thing would be. But yeah, it's got to be, you keep the, obviously look, the point is, I'm just saying, if you want to keep the cash secure, then yeah, you have to have certain mechanisms to protect against these liabilities. But again, understand that the bank digits are not claims explicitly on just cash. They're claims on the stuff that cash is representing. So maybe that's a better way to say it. But, you know, then we're getting into this language problem where, yeah, now we're having to start to pierce it so fine and say it so carefully. So when I said, you know, that digits are a claim on cash, I was really saying digits are a claim on stuff, but you really can't claim stuff. I can't claim somebody's house if they have a mortgage. I can't claim, you know, I can't receive the value of the stuff I technically own sometimes. So there has to be some buffer between the stuff and the claims on the stuff. And cash is the buffer. So as any kind of buffer, yeah, you might have to expand the money supply in an emergency, but I'm just saying it would only be a temporary expansion. That's my point. And that you have to preserve the integrity of cash by having no more than necessary of it available. Just enough to keep it degrading a little tiny bit every year, as I said before. Another problem with the gold standard, like I said, is that it doesn't create that degrade that's so necessary to prevent hoarding. Yeah. This hoarding is essentially, you know, assets closed off from investment. So it's basically closing the door to progress, right? So I guess I'll make another point about full reserve banking that I thought of while I'm doing this video. Let's see, full reserve would mean deposits would have to be made first. Right, so as we understand loans now, the loan is made first and deposit follows. Well, the tricky part is you know, in full reserve banking, the deposit would have to happen first. And that's a lot harder, right? It's a lot harder to have the deposit show up first before the loan goes out. So, like the example of the road, it's a lot harder to, you know, build the road first. You know, I'm just saying, it's you know, I can't do that. You know, I can't just build the road and then gain. You know what I'm saying? Well, I don't know how. I'm just saying that obviously a pretty huge. It would crush available investment capital if you needed deposits first and you couldn't use the value of future progress as an incentive to invest. And it kind of cuts down on that part of the game, and it forces you to go through the rich man for everything. You have to go ask the king if he'll please make a road and explain to him how he's going to make a profit in the end. I mean, nothing could get done any other way than to go to the only people that have the assets. So you couldn't go to a bank. You'd have to go to the rich men themselves. Something like that. Alright, so I think that's enough. So yeah, if you thought this video was a rant, wait till you get to the next one, I suppose. But this one's calm, so it all balances out somehow, right? Yeah, let's hope so. So I'm glad you're not a cash bigot. I'm glad, and I think I'm just saying that I'm just saying I can imagine no value to a gold standard. I don't care if people want to make one, go ahead. I'm saying, but I want to understand what it means to bonds. Is the government still allowed to issue bonds? And would it destroy fractional reserve banking? Because if it's going to kill those two things, then we have to have a conversation about it, because that has a huge implication. But I just don't see any value whatsoever in a gold standard. Wasting $1.2 trillion of gold by putting it in Fort Knox doesn't make any sense to me. Locking commodities in storage rooms doesn't sound like a good idea to me. So, no point. As far as I'm concerned, no need. It doesn't serve a purpose. And if you're going to have to do it to insure anything or to, do anything, I'm trying to think of what else this would implicate. I mean, obviously, if you had to take $7 trillion of gold to cover FDIC insurance, that would be insane. What other things did the government do where you'd have to have this huge holding of gold? Yeah, like I said, I just don't know how it would affect. I'm not for government borrowing anyway, so I'd be quite happy if borrowing went away as a government function. I think government deficits are idiotic. Government should just, if it's going to have to spend too much money, it should spend too much money and should pick up the taxes in the next year to pay for it. I see absolutely no reason to deficit spend. I think it's just idiotic to borrow money from rich people if you can avoid it. And the government should be able to avoid it. Of all things, the government should be able to avoid it. Unless it wants to admit it's some poor person that can't help it. I don't think it can admit that. So, enough of the video. Till next time.